Welcome to Lockdown Knockout Live, World Archery's answer to live action whilst observing social distancing. We have 8 athletes from all over the globe taking part in this knockout tournament, starting with 4 consecutive days of quarterfinal action. I'm Karim Bashir, and I'm here to take you through this rather unique international tournament. Joining me is one of the architects of the event, World Archery's Chris Wells. Afternoon, Chris. How are you? And how is lockdown on the banks of Lake Geneva?
Obviously a little bit sad we're not in Antalya for the second stage of the World Cup, which is where we were supposed to be right now, but it's sunny and we're still getting to do some international competition, even though it's a bit different this time around.
It certainly is, and just to give us an idea of how much has gone into making this tournament happen.
Well, you know very well yourself. You're stuck in the south of England. We've got our mixers up in Glasgow, the guys producing this, and then I'm here in Switzerland, and we've got athletes from 5 different countries taking part. It's a fantastic thing to be able to do, and we're very lucky that we have the technology to try and bring this to you, but obviously a bit nervous, so let's talk about it when we've finished.
Yeah, with all the technology involved, Wi-Fi connections, 5 different locations, all for this live coverage. We hope you'll excuse the odd glitch. All that remains before we get to the action is to introduce the athletes taking part today. First up from Norway, it's the 20-year-old 2019 World Youth Champion and the silver medalist at the 2019 Hyundai Archery World Championships in Hertogenbosch. It's Anders Faugstad. Hey Anders, how are you?
I'm good.
And Anders, I hear that for this unique tournament, you've been playing with your bow, tuning it, so you say.
Yeah, I've done some sticks to get the bow to shoot better at 18 meters with 15 arrows, and I'm really happy with the results I'm getting.
Fantastic. And where are you at the moment?
I'm here in the new hall on Kleppe here in Norway. It's a brand new indoor hall that we just built, Scott, and it's a super great hall where we can shoot 18 meters 24/7, and we can store bows there and so on. So it's an awesome hole to be able to shoot at. Sorry, what did you say?
I'm getting a lot of practice in it during this lockdown time.
Oh yeah, I'm getting enough practice. Luckily we have a very big outdoor field, so when it comes to the lockdown situation, we can kind of separate people so it close them so closely, so I can still train a lot, which is really nice.
That's fantastic. Well, we wish you the best of luck for this quarterfinals. Let's take a look at who you're up against. It's the 31-year-old American from Salt Lake City. It's Steve Anderson, the 2016 Field Archery World Champion. Hey Steve, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Very well indeed. Thank you very much. First off, Steve, how's lockdown treating you in?
Well, it's a big adjustment. Obviously, we expect to be on the road a lot this time of year, and we're here trying to enjoy ourselves at home and doing the best we can with it.
Yeah, now you work in the industry as well as compete in it. What's business like at the moment? Is everything turned down a little bit?
Yeah, it's really hard to say. I don't look at those numbers too much with what my position is. So, I mean, you expect that there will obviously be some tough times ahead, but I think we, as an archery community, will all pull through this.
Absolutely, I'm sure we will. And you have got some fantastic news. I hear you've got a new addition to the family coming soon.
Yeah, dog. It's an English pointer. Getting him from my uncle. Don't let anyone get excited thinking we're adding a human to the family. It's going to be a bird dog, and I'm really excited to get him. His name's going to be Jones.
Oh, fabulous. We can't wait him. Well, we wish you luck for your call up against Anders. The competition has had a qualification process so far. The athletes shot 60 arrows. So let's take a look at our quarterfinal lineup. Well, there we have it. Anders and Steve on your top left. They'll be shooting today. The winner will go through to the semi-finals to face the winner of tomorrow's quarterfinals between Mike Schlosser and Domagoj Buden. So, Chris, interesting lineup. One half men, the other half women. How did you come up with a format for this tournament?
Well, we didn't want to overstretch ourselves. We thought 8 archers would be a fantastic way to kick things off. And I like it in particular when men and women compete on the same level, especially indoors at 18 meters. We're guaranteed a final in this competition between a man and a woman, and I'm looking forward to that.
And Anders, you shot the best in the qualification round of 5.96. How are you looking forward to this? It must be a bit strange shooting against someone who is right the way over the other side of the Atlantic.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. You normally kind of shoot qualifications and then you go into matches without doing anything. But this time we kind of have to set up the shooting field ourselves. It's kind of a different thing. It's also you don't get the interaction between the people that you're shooting against, which is different, but a match is a match, I would say.
It certainly is. And Steve, what are your thoughts going into this tournament? Obviously, all of you want to win every match you're involved in.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the most important match of May 2020 for me thus far. I prepared for it really diligently. I've been shooting yesterday, and I'm ready. I'm ready for it. I'm excited to see what the results will be.
It's 8 a.m. in the morning for you, Steve, isn't it? And 5 p.m. for Anders, or 4 p.m. for Anders. Who's got the advantage on time zone?
That's my excuse. Well, if I lose, I just woke up. It's not my fault.
Well, guys, best of luck. Before we get into the action, let's take a look at the rules for this rather unique tournament. As you see, those are the shoot-off rules. What we need to see are the main rules. We'll be shooting over 18 meters. There we go. 15 arrows spread across 5 ends, and it's an accumulative score that we're working towards. Whoever's got the highest score at the end of the 15 arrows wins and goes through to the semi-finals. So, Chris, fairly similar rules to a regular compound archery. Anything particularly special about this tournament, though?
Well, there's plenty special about it. We don't have proper fields, we don't have proper judges, we don't have 2 people on the shooting line next to each other. But we've done something for the archers as well. We're not shooting those fat indoor arrows that we normally do at 18 meters. We're going to shoot the thin outdoor arrows, which makes it tougher, makes it harder to shoot the middle, but also they won't be catching as many line breakers.
Yeah, and obviously we're going to be relying on the archers to let us know what their scores are. But if there are any difficult calls, will you be making those calls for us?
In the absence of anyone more professional, I guess I'll have to. But hopefully we can rely on some of this archery honesty.
Yeah, well, we absolutely will. So it's about time that we get down to the action now. It's our first quarterfinal. Anders Faugstad from Norway, the world number 17, taking on Steve Anderson from the USA, the world number 63. It's time for Lockdown Knockout Live.
Anders, obviously you had the highest
you
score in qualification. Would you like to shoot first or second? Anders, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I would like to shoot first.
Perfect. Steve, you okay with that?
Yeah.
Well, whenever you're ready, Anders, get cracking.
So here we go. End one. There is Anders' target. Well, two sighters to get things going. Looks like Steve got the slightly better start.
Steve told us before this event he shoots in the 1-3-2 order, so bottom left, bottom right, top target, and is going for the clockwise rotation.
Cracking finish there from Steve. The archers will now go down to the target end and give us their scores. We've got 30 plays 30 here on our scoreboard. Chris, do you think they were all 10s there?
Steve's looks solid. I think Anders' first arrow creeped high and left. Steve actually scored 13 points less than Anders over the qualification, 60 arrows. So he's got quite a deficit in total score, but it's only these arrows that matter here. Isn't it, Steve?
Pardon?
You can still win this, I'm saying.
Can I pull out the arrows?
You can score for us first, Anders. What do you have?
Okay.
30 there for
I have
Steve.
Okay, I have a 10, 10, 9. Total 29.
Is that first arrow on
There
the
we
left
have
that's
it.
out, is it, Anders?
Yeah, this is out.
Well, as you predicted, Chris, the first arrow from Anders was in the 9. So Steve leads after the first end, 30 plays 29. Guys, you can retrieve your arrows and make your way back to the shooting line. So, Chris, you called it. The 9 started for Anders, puts him a point behind. But cumulative score in compound archery means it's not easy to catch up, but it's possible.
It's possible. 1 point here and there won't make a winning match until we get to the end. Three tens from Steve to start is quite impressive, though. We haven't seen the kind of maximum scores we would expect to see indoors in the qualification because of those thin arrows. They're not easy to control over 18 meters. So a perfect score in a match in this competition would be exceptionally impressive.
And just to give perhaps people new to archery more of an idea, why are those thinner arrows? Why don't they fly as true?
Steve can probably explain this a bit better than I can, but basically fatter arrows fly slower, so they straighten up quicker, and we tune for a certain distance. The thin arrows kind of are made for the long distance, for the 50 meters, not rather than 18. That's right, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, you can get them to tune at short distance as well, but in this game, it's just a matter of the size of the arrow. Normally when we're shooting indoor, the inner 10, it's not hard to hit, but it's very easy to miss. And now it's with the small arrows, it's hard to hit and even easier to miss. So it's very challenging with our outdoor setups.
Well, that's a good insight from you, Steve. Thank you for that. You are leading by a single point. So, Anders, it will be down to you to shoot first at the start of end 2. So Anders Faugstad here from Norway, the 20-year-old trailing by a single point, will look to get a good start. Just a little right of centre, that one. That's a lovely shot there, right in the middle. Well, 2 close arrows there. Interested to see what Steve does to finish things off here. And he puts that one in the centre as well. It looks like it could be on the line. So, guys, if you could make your way down to the target to give us your scores. Chris, you're thinking?
Well, I think Steve's done very well again. I can hear in the background he's got his crowd arrived and is shooting alone. But those bottom 2 targets on Anders, they're very, very close. And I think they're both out.
Can I call my score now?
Yeah, please go ahead. Close. I think that might have snuck into the 10, though.
I agree with you.
All day, boys.
Another close one. Is that the first drop points from Steve Anderson? The guys will make their way back down to the target as we wait for their scores. Chris, your thoughts?
Well, that last one from Steve is definitely out, but the last shot, the bottom right from Anders, was difficult as well. It must be so hard to shoot, hearing your voice coming over the speakers. Your voice and Steve's cough and Steve's voice too for Anders. It's not an easy experience, I'd imagine, guys.
My score is 10-10-10.
You said you're into the groove. You certainly are.
I've got
And Steve? Perfect. There we go. So first drop point from Steve. Back-to-back maximums for Anders. And, well, if my maths is right, the guys are both level on 89 points. And seems that's what our scorer thinks too. So all tied up now going into the next end. Chris, what are your thoughts so far?
Well, the best compound matches are tight until the last arrows. That's where the pressure really ramps up, and that's where we see mistakes being made. If these guys can keep it tight through the fourth end, the fifth should be exciting.
Well, I've just been told that we had a slight technical glitch there. Just to confirm, Anders scored a 30 in that end, and Steve dropped his first point, but scored a 29. So the guys are all level on 89 points after 3 ends. Steve, how do you feel after dropping that first point?
I feel, how do I feel? Mostly the same as I did prior. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And as you're back on level terms, you decided to shoot first at the beginning. You'll shoot first again. You said you're in the groove. You're feeling that groove more now?
Yeah, I would say so. The shots are a little bit easier now to get off in the middle. I was kind of hesitant when I shot the first shot, but now it's a little bit better.
Fabulous stuff. Well, we're all square at 89 points as we go into end 4. So over to you, Anders Faugstad, the start of the fourth end. Perhaps a little low, that one. Looks like it's a 10 to me. Oh, that's the widest one from the centre so far. We did have a little technical glitch again with Anders, but I can tell you that it looks like he shot a 10. There we go for his final arrow. Chris, is that an 8 for Steve?
No, that's a 9. Gold is all 9 except that tiny 2 centimeter middle ring, which is a 10 for compound archers at 18 meters. That kind of bigger ring that you see in the gold is the 10 for the recurve archers. You know, and hopefully if this all works out, we'll get a lockdown knockout tournament for them too.
Yeah, well, the guys are making their way to the target. Anders, you're there already. What's your score?
10, 10, and a 10.
A perfect 30 for the third time in a row for Anders. Steve?
10, 9, 9.
So a couple of 9s in there for Steve Anderson, and that puts us, well, as you can see, 119 plays 118. I've actually got that down as 117 my end. Chris, you're the main judge. What do you have the scores down as?
Yeah, it's 119 Anders, 118 Steve. That first arrow he shot in the fourth end will be marked down to a 9 when our remote scorers get on it. It is very, very difficult, as I said, for these scorers to to identify whether these small arrows have hit the small sensor ring on the target face over the phone. As we'll watch Anders just fiddle with his targets a bit and make sure those holes he's already shot are not obscuring the lines even more and making it even more difficult to judge those line calls.
Yeah, crucial. The guys making their way back. And as you can see, that score has been adjusted. 119 plays at 117. Steve, I come to you first. 2 nines dropped, or 2 points dropped in that end. Anything in particular? Have you changed anything your end?
No, one was a decent shot. That's not always good enough with the small arrows, and then the other one was just a bad shot. So that doesn't play with anything.
Good stuff. Anders, a third perfect score in a row. Feeling good?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm getting really lucky when it comes to getting the lines. So I have to shoot a little bit better, I think. I'm not getting like these shots feeling that I want. As long as there's tens, it's tens.
Yeah, that's crucial for you guys. Not only do you want a good score, but you want to shoot the arrow absolutely perfectly. Steve, you're trailing by 2 points, so you will get to shoot first. It's the fifth and final end of this quarterfinal. So Steve Anderson up to the shooting line to get us underway for the last end of this quarterfinal. Good start. Another long hold, but looks like Anders has got another 10, the 10th one, sorry, the 12th one in a row.
No, I think that one's dropped out into the 9. You could see the line of the 10 ring just kind of above the shaft.
Well, that's what you're here for, Chris. So an opportunity for Steve. It looks like he's taken that as well. So it looks like we've just lost Anders for a second, and we will see whether we get him back. It's just a few technical glitches here, as you can imagine, with archers in Norway and the United States. Let's see if we can get Steve back in picture. Oh, there's Chris. Hello, Chris.
I can't get Steve. What's second best?
We expected some technical glitches. There is Steve. Steve, we've just lost Anders for a second, so you get a little bit of a rest as we wait for him to come back. Just tell us a little bit more about how things are going in the United States with the lockdown. Different in all different states, I hear.
Yeah, very much different just because we're so spread out. You know, it's a big country. So my state of Utah never had a mandatory stay-at-home order. We did have some mandatory closures of certain businesses and things like that, but we've been managing pretty well with the virus, and now just looking to try to turn things around and get people back to their jobs and back to work.
Well, it looks like we have managed to get Anders back. Anders, welcome back. Did you shoot your second arrow?
No, I didn't shoot anything. I waited for Steve to finish, but he froze. And I was like, it's holding up pretty long time now. And then 10 seconds later, I was like, okay, I need to reconnect.
So I was trying.
Well, Steve has shot his second arrow. He scored another 10 by the looks of things. So, Anders, if you could get us back underway with your second arrow in this fifth end.
Yep.
I wonder if Anders was playing with us there with a very long hold. I thought it'd frozen, but he got a 10. So the last arrow from Steve here needs to put the pressure on.
Low 10. Low weight is 10.
Low 10 calls Steve.
Low Vegas 10, so that's well out because in Vegas they use the recurve scoring. So that'll be a 9 on the small 10 that we use.
Oh, and a solid final arrow from Anders. So, Chris, you're calling a 9 for Steve's last arrow.
Oh, that's well out. Miles out, unfortunately. He had a bit of trouble with that top target, it looks like. I think Anders had dropped one on that first arrow as well. So there was an opportunity to put some pressure on from Steve, but not quite to be, unfortunately.
Well, let's have a confirmation from Steve of his score. Steve, could you read out arrow by arrow for us?
Yeah, I've got 10,
10, 9, 29 total, 146.
A 10, 10, 9, and a 146. And Anders, if we could ask you the same.
Okay, I have a 10, 9, and 10.
Well, there we go. 29 apiece, but it does mean, Anders, you have won this quarterfinal. You said you were getting into the groove. You only dropped 1 point in the final 4 ends. Really, really good shooting.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And how do you feel about progressing through to the semi-finals of this rather unique tournament?
Yeah, it's really special. But I have to work harder. I see. I'm getting a little bit lucky when it comes to the lines here, and as you can see, I just dropped it out just outside. So I have to kind of train a little bit more to get tighter groups around the 10. But yeah, I'm really happy with the results, and I wish both Mikey and Buden good luck in the semi-finals, and I hope the best man wins.
Well, there we go. If you could retrieve your arrows and make your way back to the shooting line. Steve, you started really well, but just a couple of drop points in each of the last 3 ends. How do you feel? How was the tournament for you?
It was a lot of fun. Like I said, it's very easy to miss that inner 10 with these small arrows. I made one bad shot, and that was very apparent. And then the rest of them, you have to make better than good shots, I would say. So in normal indoor competition with the arrows we use, a good shot will usually score a 10. It's rare that you make a good shot and it doesn't go in. Here, you almost have to make that great shot. The good shot isn't always good enough. So I feel all right about it. Anders shot really well, 149 or 148. That's a score that'll sometimes win an indoor match with regular equipment.
Well, Steve, thank you very much. If you can make your way back to the shooting line as well, I'm going to have one last little chat with you. Chris, an incredible match, really. Great scores from both of the archers, but Anders just got better and better as the competition went on.
Yeah, and Steve started better. If he'd been able to keep his foot on the gas all the way through, he might have been able to make an upset here, but he just kind of trailed off and dropped a few arrows at the start, which is unfortunate for Steve, but Anders performed exceptionally well in qualification and got stronger as this match went on, and often the man that wins a match in cumulative scoring in compound archery is the one that can maintain his nerve until the very end of the 15 arrows. I'd like to ask these guys, how difficult or how weird was it to shoot a match not together?
It was interesting because you're mic'd up essentially the whole time. Like I needed to cough a little bit, and I didn't want to, because I didn't want to come over the video production. So I was treating it as much as a video production as I was a match. But there was still, a little bit of nerves, a little bit of pressure got there. So that was fun. It's good to feel that as a professional archer. You want to feel that regularly and grow accustomed to it. And, we haven't had the chance to feel that kind of nerves in a while.
Anders, you performed on the maiden stage a couple of times in 2019. the finals of the World Championships, and then that perfect score in the Youth Championships to win it. Obviously, this isn't the same kind of stage. You don't have those crowds. Any kind of feelings of those kind of arena matches doing this?
I always have problems when it comes to the first shot. So when I shot the first shot now, it's kind of a little bit tense, a little bit nervous. I don't want to disappoint people with shooting, So you kind of get the same feeling. You have the sense of expectations from people, but after the first shot, you kind of forget it and try to get them into rhythm and shoot better and better. So even though it's webbed up and it's not live, we're not in the same area, I still feel that the tense, situation going on. So it's really cool. I'm really happy with how this went.
Well, congratulations to you, Anders. You will be going through to the semi-finals. And thank you, Steve. We hope to see you on a range sometime soon.
Absolutely. I'd love to get back and see everyone from the archery family. Thanks, guys, for putting it on. Chris, especially for, ramrodding this project through. It was a lot of fun. And now I can go cheer for Linda and hope for the best for her.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, guys. Steve, we'll see Linda in a couple of days' time. And Anders, we'll see you in the semi-finals.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, let's take a look at the draw as it looks now, having had our first quarterfinal. And there we go, Anders Faugstad going through to the semi-finals, and he will face the winner of tomorrow's quarterfinal between Schlosser and Domagoj Buden. And as I said, we've got 4 days of consecutive quarterfinals, and here they are tomorrow: Schlosser versus Buden. And then we'll go to the women's half of the draw. Paige Pierce taking on Linda Ochoa Anderson, and Toya Ellison taking on Sara Lopez. So, Chris, we have our first quarterfinal complete. Not too many problems.
Well, we survived it. That's all that matters. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate everyone who's putting time into this to follow along with us. It was fantastic to watch some competition archery again. Anders and Steve did great. It was a great match, actually, to start with. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy everything went well. What about you, Cam? You good?
Yeah, fabulous. It was really interesting to see the tension of this first knockout live in these lockdown conditions, and it was great to see the athletes performing so well. The first of 4 quarterfinals done and dusted. We have 3 more to come. Tomorrow we'll move on to the second men's quarterfinal, Mike Schlosser versus Domagoj Buden. Thank you to the athletes. There we have confirmation of tomorrow's draw, 5 p.m. Central European time. We'll be back for that quarterfinal. Thanks to the athletes, thanks to Chris, thanks to the guys in Glasgow for putting all the technology together, and thanks to all of you. We'll see you again tomorrow.